Welcome everyone to this special council meeting. It being the allotted time at 5:30, I'll declare this meeting open. Kaya Marman, Kaya Yoga, Kaya Bridiye Yananuk, Nalak Kadij Winjalak Nini, Nalak Kadij Nija Bujabal, Wajak Nunga Bujalalak Nini, Kura, Nijie Burawan. On behalf of the town, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land on which we meet, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. May their campfires burn forever. I'd also like to remind people that our meetings are recorded and uploaded to the town's website as well as live streamed. I do not have any announcements tonight. We'll move on to attendances and apologies. Now, Councillor John is an apology. He cannot tune in online. I don't believe we have any other apologies, do we, Mr. CEO? No. Okay. So, councillors, I'd ask at this point in time if there are any declarations of interest. And if I don't see any hands going up, I'll take that as a no. We do not have any presentations or deputations tonight. Is that correct, Mr. CEO? Correct. Okay. So we now come to item 6 on the agenda, which is statements by members of the public on an agenda item. If you'd like to come to the chair, and I'll get Councillor Ames to turn on the microphone for you. So public statement time is 2 minutes, sir, and if you'd state your name and suburb.
Good evening all. Don Yates, 10 Thompson Road, Success Hill. Just speaking on tonight's item on the agenda, my relatives arrived here in January 1830 in Guildford on a ship called the Eagle and held real estate in Guildford for a substantial period of time, namely Fairhome, which had something like about 7 acres of orchard going down to the river. So one has had a long-term commitment to the area, and also there were the occasional dinghies that used to wander across the Swan River on a Sunday afternoon, followed by shotguns recently thereafter. So there is this association between Success Hill and Guildford that goes back to a substantial period of time. The town of Bassendean is small, but it still has something in the order of about $25 million in assets, land assets. And it would be disappointing, and I understand the challenge of people in Guildford who would like to restore some of their historical sites before the 200th anniversary of White Settlement, which is only 5 years away. The state, federal, possibly could actually be contributors towards some of that heritage site rebuilding and some of the other events leading up to that 200th anniversary of White Settlement in the area. But I don't think the ratepayers of Bassendean, they could make a donation, but I wouldn't like to see what happened in previous years where Bassendean was seen as a potential cash cow to support other causes. And I think as much as we wish Swan well in their fundraising, I think Bassendean should look to north to Reed Highway or west to Tonkin Highway to increase its numbers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yates. Thank you, Mr. Yates. Any other members of if you would like to come to the microphone, state your name and suburb. Thank you very much. Miss McWilliam, isn't it? Elder Parade?
Yes, so Hilary McWilliam, 20 Elder Parade, Bassendean.
Okay, I'll let you open your device because you're obviously reading off a device.
Yes, I am.
Again, 2 minutes for statements.
Okay, so at the general meeting of electors, I put forward a motion, which is motion 3, which is what we're really talking about today. Which was a response to the general meeting of electors from the City of Swan, where residents had proposed that we look for opportunities to align and Bassendean to take over management of certain suburbs that are currently in Swan, where alignment occurs. So, So my rationale for making the motion that we actually explore the opportunity with Swan, with the help of the Local Government Advisory Board and consultation of both City of Swan and Town of Bassendean residents. The reason I had suggested that was that it was really about the Town of Bassendean engaging with the City of Swan to discuss potential realignment of the local government boundary. As I said, it was prompted by a motion from Swan ratepayers. In that motion, Swan ratepayers expressed a desire to address the needs of communities more closely aligned to the Town of Bassendean geographically and historically, that has similar demographics, urban density and activity. The factors outlined by the Local Government Advisory Board to evaluate proposals for changes to local government boundaries include the following: community of interest, physical and topographical features, demographic trends, economic factors, the history of the area, transport and communication, matters affecting the viability of the local government, the effective delivery of government services. Logic dictates that adjoining local governments collaborate to review district boundaries to ascertain what synergies may exist to unite communities of interest. To highlight a prime example, it would appear that Guildford, Woodbridge and Kiara have significant connections and similarities to Success Hill, Eden Hill and Bassendean. Councils should always strive for the efficient delivery of targeted services, and a collaborative review may highlight some suburban areas more closely aligned to the Town of Bassendean locality than to the City of Swan. Clearly detailed analysis is undertaken to determine the potential for any boundary realignment, culminating in the Local Government Advisory Board engaging in targeted consultation with those urban communities that may or may not support inclusion and representation by the Town of Bassendean.
I will have to ask you to finish there, my dear.
That's it, full stop.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. And we have, is there anyone else in the chamber who would like to provide a statement?
Well,
if you are, sir, you'll have to come to the camera. So if you could wait till you get to because it records. Thank you, sir. Your name and suburb?
Michael Grogan, 5 Lamb Street, Bassendean. I'm just reiterating a lot of what the previous speaker has said, but I, with due respect to the speaker prior, I'm not sure the reasons for his opposing the motion or to go for you to investigate this is relevant to what we want to do. Yes, there's and being a foundation member of the Historical Society, I'm fully aware of our bicentennial celebrations coming up, but I don't think that was the ethos of why the people of Swan wanted to get some alignment with something which was sympathetic to their character, I suppose. So I have to reject what you're trying to aim at, Mr. Yates, because it's just not relevant to what we're trying to do. Yes, there is money for buildings, but I think that's a peripheral issue to what we're trying to do. And what we're trying to do, and why I'm here, is support the Hillary who put the motion forward. That yes, in the fullness of time, maybe it brings a bit of Bassendean back to where we were. And also, I must add, in finishing, that I do support taking on parts of Kiara and across there, because traditionally as a child, that was all Bassendean. It is actually Bassendean on the other side of Walter Road, but if I may say so cheeky before I finish, I'd like to see us go right up to the highway, to the freeway, and take all that back. But the real issue is here. We'd like you to support Hillary's motion to investigate and pursue it a bit further. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Right on 2 minutes. Okay. So thank you, sir. That was Very well presented. Okay, we will now go to the number 7, which is questions from members of the public. If you have a question, you could raise your hand and come to the microphone. Sir, if you'd like to come to the microphone.
Don Yates, 10 Thompson Road, Success Hill. I guess the question comes back to what was suggested some years ago, where the town's assets were actually quarantined in a trust, such that if there were initiatives, be it north, west or east across the river, as far as amalgamations and whatever is concerned, that the benefits of those land assets were retained by the original residents of Bassendean.
Okay, so Mr. Yates, let's just deal with that. The topic that's on the agenda for tonight is merely to have constructive dialogue with an adjoining council, which is the City of Swan. It actually presupposes no boundary realignment at this time. It is simply to authorise the CEO to write to the CEO of City of Swan to say that we are interested in having dialogue. I think that your question is a jump far down the road. I will ask the CEO if you'd like to add anything before we move on to any other questions.
No, thanks.
Okay.
Mayor, I think you've summed it up quite well.
Okay, Mr. Yates, next question.
One follow-up question to that. It's my understanding if residents of Bassendean wish to consider border changes to incorporate Guildford heading north to Reed Highway, west to Tonkin, that it takes typically about 250 signatures on a petition for local government to consider a border change. And maybe the town, my question is, should the town be considering such a broad referendum of the community to see what the community is actually feeling?
Thank you, Mr. Yates.
Just 250 signatures.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Yates. I'll take that as a statement, not a question. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now move on to the reports. Well, there's only one report, 8.1. I think it's fairly self-explanatory. I am of the understanding that all councillors have read the report, but I will quickly ask if there are any questions before we move on to the officer recommendation. I'm getting shaking of heads there. Councillor Polifka.
Very quick question. So just to confirm for the benefit of everybody, our willingness to participate in this process doesn't commit us to anything, and all this does is signal to adjacent local government that here at the town of Bassendean we don't suffer from closed-mindedness and we're willing to participate in the legitimate process. And
I'll ask the CEO if you have a response to that.
Very well put, Councillor Polifka. You could have actually introduced the item. I couldn't have said it better. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So, councillors, without further ado, I will go to the officer recommendation. So the officer recommendation that council requests the CEO immediately inform the City of Swan that the town of Bassendean is a willing partner in boundary adjustment discussions. Do I have a mover for that item? Councillor Ames. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Polifka. Do I have anyone against? I will declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. To finish off the meeting, the next briefing session will be held on Tuesday, the 19th of March, commencing at 6 p.m, and the next ordinary council meeting will be held on the 26th of March, commencing at 6 p.m. I will now declare this meeting closed at 5:45 p.m. And we'll wait for the recording to be turned off. Thank you, everyone.